So how can I help you?
Well, I have a few questions for you, and then you can just take it over. you know,
Okay.
I really have a problem with this exclusive listing and exclusive right to sell.
Okay.
So I know exclusive is one person. The right to sell, I thought maybe was the seller, like the seller can sell it on his own, and then the person gets the commission. But for some reason, every time I do a practice test, as soon as I see exclusive right to sell and exclusive listing, I go blank.
Okay, so first off, do you know what a listing is?
Yeah, it's an agreement between a broker and a seller to find a able buyer.
Good. Okay. And then there's different types of listings. Do you know what they are?
I know a few of them. I know it's a net listing out there.
Yeah.
How many are they?
Well, first you got to remember listings go into two basic categories, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You may want to write this down.
Okay.
You have your exclusive listings and you have your non-exclusive listings.
So the non-exclusive listings, would those be like open listings?
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So exclusive listings go into two different types you need to know for your exam.
Okay.
Okay? You have exclusive right to sell and exclusive agency.
Mm-hmm.
But before you get into that, do you know what the word exclusive means?
Yeah, like in a relationship, you're just with one person, exclusive.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So with real estate, there's one broker.
Right.
Right? Whereas open, you can have a relationship with lots of brokers. Okay? Just like an open relationship, like you said. All right?
Yeah.
So you have that one broker. Okay? So with an exclusive agency, what happens with that one? What does that one mean?
Exclusive agency means the broker has to find a seller
Buyer.
to receive a buyer to receive the commission.
Good. How could the broker not receive the commission? Under what circumstances?
If the seller finds somebody themselves.
Good. Yeah, if they sell it or who just doesn't find a buyer. Exactly. Or if the seller finds the buyer. Okay? An exclusive right to sell, is that true?
No.
Good. So the exclusive right to sell, all right, you get paid no matter what, as long as that property sells, correct?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to ask you a question. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you need to prove that you're the procuring cause of the buyer?
The exclusive agency.
Good. Excellent. Nice.
See?
Making you nervous.
Oh, man.
I was making you nervous. Totally. I know. that was great. Okay. Why don't you have to prove the exclusive right to sell?
Because it's already in the contract. Like, I get the commission no matter what, whether you find somebody, I find somebody, or Joe Below finds somebody.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, an open listing, what's that?
Open listing, a bunch of brokers get an opportunity to find an able buyer. It's like the dog flyer thing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like find Muffy, I'll pay you $500. Good.
Exactly.
Yeah, and everybody goes after it, and whoever brings it gets the commission.
Yeah, or consideration, whatever that it might be.
Exactly. Good. All right. Are these bilateral or unilateral contracts?
Bilateral.
It's a trick question. One of them is unilateral.
Okay. The open listing is the unilateral.
Good. So the correct answer would have been some, not all. So why is the open listing unilateral?
Because it's open for anybody to make the action happen.
Well, do the brokers have to look for a buyer?
No, they don't.
They don't. So they don't have to do anything. Where an exclusive listing, do they have to look for a buyer?
Yes, because that's how they get paid.
Well, also, if you don't, you're in breach of your contract.
Right, because that's like a part of the promissory note. Like, you're exchanging duties that you're both gonna do.
Yeah. Well, promissory note's something different. Don't confuse that.
Okay.
Okay? So the open listing, all right, you have the option to go look for a buyer. You don't have to. In the exclusive listing, you're in breach of your contract if you're not actively looking.
Okay. That's unilateral.
All right? And the net listing is just a form of payment, meaning you get paid above and beyond a designated price.
Right. So it's like if a house is going for 500,000, somebody offers 550,
Then
you keep the extra 50.
Right, exactly.
Why would that be frowned upon? I don't understand.
Because there's an inherent conflict of interest.
Okay.
Because I'm the agent, I bring 550. You as the seller just want 500 grand. But I'm turning away an offer because I think I can get 600 grand.
Right. Okay.
And I can make 100 grand. You're sitting there, all you're getting is 500 grand. So you're getting offers rejected that are perfectly good for you.
Got it. Not in the interest of the sellers.
Right, where legal have to present the offers, but then it creates ethical challenges. All right, what's the next thing?
General lien versus specific lien.
Okay, so what's a lien?
Money.
You owe money.
Yes.
What does the word general and specific mean to you?
I mean, general would kind of mean like a broad anything, and specific is like a certain something.
Good. So then what do you think a general and specific lien is? Based on what you just said to me.
I just don't know how to define them outside of that. Like, which one?
You could do it. Think about it. So general and specific. So you said, what does the word general mean to you? What did you say?
Like broad.
Good. And what does specific mean to you?
A particular something.
Good. So when I explain it to you, you're going to be like, oh, I should have known that. So I know you could do it. Just think it through. So a general lien would be, come on, give it a shot.
A general lien would be, a mortgage?
Why?
Could it generally has to go with the property already?
Here, I'll help you out with it. Okay, so you got these different types of liens, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you see a general lien, so a mortgage would not be a general lien. That would be a specific lien. Because a general lien means it goes against all property, all right? When you get a specific lien, like a mortgage, okay, if you don't pay it, then all they could do is take your house.
Mm-hmm.
They can't come after anything else, like your car, your salary, your bank, all that kind of stuff.
Only can take one thing, okay.
Whereas a general lien, they could take everything. They could go after everything and anything.
So what would be a general lien?
Your income taxes.
Oh, taxes.
Right, or if you lose a court case. Okay, so if you get sued and lose your court case, it could be a general lien. Specific liens are things like property taxes. Notice I said income taxes. I didn't just say taxes generally. So income tax would be a general lien. Property taxes would be a specific lien.
That's good information.
Okay, so a mortgage would be a specific lien.
Yeah.
All right.
A mechanic's lien would be a specific lien.
Yes. Good. Now you're getting it. Yeah, and that's important to know. So you have your general liens and your specific liens. And you also have your involuntary liens and voluntary liens. And that might be a little easier for you.
Yeah, involuntary, well, I mean, that could also be a mechanic's lien if it was from the previous.
Yeah, there's only really one voluntary lien that you're going to come across.
Which is?
Getting a loan for your house.
Right.
Right, because that's
so
voluntary.
Is the loan and the mortgage the same thing? This is probably the dumbest question.
It's not dumb. It's a very good question. Yeah, a mortgage is a way to get a loan.
Okay.
I mean, really, getting a loan is kind of just layman's terms. When you're dealing with the actual practice and legal, they use more specific terms, like a trust deed or mortgage, things of that nature.
Okay. All right. What is leverage?
That's just borrowing money. It's using other people's money.
It's so funny. I printed out your vocabulary sheet like right when I first signed up for the course, and I literally have all my friends and associates quiz me every day on these words. They be like, "Why do you only give me one or two words of the definition?" I'm like, believe me, if you watch this stuff, you have to remember probably like 300 words, so you want to keep it as simple as possible.
It's the same as learning like another language.
Yeah, and that was hard enough. I definitely gave up on Spanish.
Oh, don't give up on that.
Yeah, we need it.
Okay, what else you got? What other words?
I want to know what's GNMA and Freddie Mac.
So before you get into that, do you understand the difference between the primary and secondary market?
I have an idea what the primary and secondary market
because
is.
If you don't know that, the Freddie Mac and Ginnie Mae stuff is not going to make sense.
Makes sense. Okay, well, let's go to the primary and secondary first.
Okay. So what's the primary market?
The market that takes precedent?
That's where you just go get a loan. Like when you go to a commercial bank, you get a loan. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The more complicated one is the secondary market.
Is that loans that they sold to somebody else?
Good. So tell me about the secondary market. What do you know about the secondary market?
It's a junior.
So write down this word. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Resale marketplace.
Resale marketplace. I heard you say that.
Yeah. Okay. So do you know your history?
Yeah, quiz me.
I'm about to test that California education.
I had a 3.5 GPA. I ain't gonna tell you how I got it, but I had one.
Okay, good. All right, so 1930s, what was happening? Or 1920s? Let's go back even further. In the United States, what was going on in the 1920s? So that was when like Babe Ruth was hitting home runs, swing dancing. You know, it's called the Roaring '20s.
Civil War.
No, Civil War, different time. 1920s was when America was doing awesome. People were making money, and Babe Ruth.
The Roaring '20s,
right?
Soaring '20s.
Yeah, that was when Babe Ruth was famous, doing his thing, and everybody was having a great time. Okay, yeah. But what goes up must came down. What happened in the 1930s?
Stock market crash.
Good. There's the Great Depression.
Great Depression. Okay.
All right. And what happened is people couldn't get real estate, right? Because back then, to get a home, you had to be really rich to get a loan. Okay. Yeah. The loans were like 7 years long, and you had to put these massive down payments down. And you see that a lot in third world countries. Only the really rich could do it because only the banks could really afford to lend to really rich people. So what happens is the whole country becomes a country of renters, right?
Right.
And that's not good for the economy because people don't own, they can't build wealth, they don't take care of the community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what the government did is told the banks you got to lend to the poor people or the people with less money. And they said, we can't, because if we do that, then we won't make any money, we'll lose money, we can't do this, these poor people can't put down the down payments and pay these massive interest rates. Okay? Mm-hmm. So what the government did is they said, if you lend to somebody with lower income who qualifies, we will insure you. All right? We will back you up. Okay? Do you know what that's called? Do you know what I'm describing to you?
Insurance.
Specifically? You ever heard of the FHA?
FHA? I was going to say that. Man.
Yeah. So now I'm describing the birth of the FHA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So the FHA was designed to get out of the Great Depression. It said to these banks that, hey, if you lend to these lower income people, okay, then we will make sure you get your money back. All right?
Yeah.
But here's the catch. You have to lend them over a term of, let's say, 30 years. Okay? Mm. Whereas with these rich people, they got paid back in 7 years. Something somebody with low income can't do. They can't pay back in 7 years. They
Right.
need more time to do that. And the bank said, that's not going to work for us. You know, because if I lend out money and don't get paid back for 30 years, what's the problem with that?
It takes too long to get your money back.
Which means they can't lend money out.
Right, because they ain't gonna have no more money.
Yeah, because they're lending money out, and if you came to a loan, they'll be like, I can lend you money, but could you wait like 30 years? You know?
Right. That's not gonna work.
Right. In comes a bunch of people from Wall Street and said, this is what we'll do. We got lots of money, and we want to collect the interest. So we will buy those loans from you, you being the bank, and we will make money over the long term. And you take the money that we gave you to purchase that loan, and you use that money to lend more people money.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Do you know what that's called?
Wasn't that the secondary market?
That's the secondary market.
Yeah.
And I subscribe to the secondary market.
Got it.
Okay? So the secondary market bought these loans so that they could get sold. Because if they didn't do that, the bank would not be able to lend any more money.
Got it.
Now, certain of these loans were hard to buy. Because obviously investors want to buy great loans. Okay? Ones that have good interest rates and they can make a decent living off of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they wanted to buy certain loans, but some of them weren't so great. So because they were like government-backed loans and they had lower interest rates and things like that. So in comes programs like Ginnie Mae and Fannie Mae. So they function in the secondary market and buy certain types of loans.
Plottage. What is that?
That's just two things that bring together to benefit a greater whole. Like 1 + 1 = 3. You ever heard that expression?
Yeah.
You know,
I never knew why people said that though.
Because if you have like a shopping mall with no parking, you have a parking lot with no shops, they're not worth that much separately. But if you bring them together, what happens?
It's greater for everybody.
Right. And that's that 1 + 1 = 3 concept. And that's plottage.
Well, okay. Special agent. Well, I was just watching a webinar actually this morning driving home from work, and it said that the special agent was just a real estate agent.
Yes, a real estate agent is a type of special agent. Okay, so you have special agent and general agent. All right? When you're a real estate agent or even an accountant, okay, you're getting hired to do one thing and one thing alone, correct?
Yeah.
And when you finish that one thing, what happens?
You get paid for it.
And you're done, and the relationship's over.
Yeah.
A general agent is more ongoing, like with a property manager, and they may have multiple responsibilities.
And then you give the example of the lawyer, right?
Yeah, or property manager, things like that.
Or property manager, yeah.
Yeah. So special agent, they say real estate agent because it's one task. When that task is done, the relationship's over.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. The 1031 exchange.
How much do you know about that?
Nothing at all.
Okay, so you definitely want to know about that, not just for your exam, but when you practice real estate.
Does it have to do with taxes?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
All right. Do you own a house right now?
No, I rented an apartment out.
Okay. When you own a house and you sell it, what happens to that money?
The equity or like just all the money, period?
Equity.
I keep it.
You keep it. But it gets taxed, right?
Yeah. Everything gets taxed.
Not everything.
Because you get to write it off.
Well, no. Because you could take that money and put it into another property.
Oh, yeah.
And if you do that, it won't get taxed.
That's what the exchange part is.
Yes. It's a government incentive for you to reinvest your money in the community or in property. When I say community, I meant property in the community.
And it has to be the whole lump sum of the equity
Yes.
invested in order for it to not be taxed.
Yeah, and if you don't, the difference will be taxed, and that's where that thing called the boot comes in. But that's a
The
little more complicated.
Okay.
Right now, I want you to understand the premise of what a 1031 exchange is.
Okay. Wow. So I guess the smartest thing would do is buy an investment property with the equity, so at least you can make some money off the money you thought you were going to make on the house you just sold.
Right, and the whole idea is you're taking one property, the money from one property, and putting it into another.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good there. Obligatory advances.
So when you have a construction property, okay, a construction loan, excuse me, what they're saying is at different stages of construction, they'll give you more money, and that's the obligatory advances.
Okay. I don't think I've ever even seen this as a question.
You may. That comes up.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
What else did I have for you? Interim loan?
Interim.
Interim loan. Well, I'm going to sound retarded on YouTube land.
No, don't worry about it. Interim. So you have a short-term loan, which is interim loan. A takeout loan is a long-term loan. Okay. So the interim loan is a short-term loan, usually while the construction process is being done.
Oh, so this is for construction too.
Yeah.
Okay. Tenancy in common, community, property.
Okay. So there's different types of ownership. Ownership gets divided into two categories. Do you know what they are?
Yeah.
You mentioned one of them.
Severalty.
Good.
And concurrent estate.
Perfect. Excellent. Good. Concurrent estate can be divided into three different categories. Do you know what they are?
Joint tenancy.
Good.
Tenancy in common.
Good.
And then the community one. Community.
Yeah, and community property changes as per which state people are in. But joint tenancy and tenancy in common, that's true for everybody.
Okay.
Okay? Now you're in California, so you use community property.
All right.
And that's easy. That's husband and wife.
Yeah, that's...
And the reason that changes per state, these different states have marriage laws.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay? Different marriage laws, I should say. They all have marriage laws. What's the difference between a joint tenancy and tenancy in common?
The joint tenancy, right of survivalship.
Good. That's one thing.
Like,
excellent.
Yeah, like one dies, the other person gets it.
Good. So if you and I have a property together as joint tenants, I die and I have kids, who gets my property?
I do.
Good. If it was tenancy in common, who would get it?
Your heirs or ears.
My heirs, yeah, my kids.
Yeah.
All right, and that's that right of survivorship. You have the right of survivorship.
Yeah, and kind of with the in common thing, I'm just thinking like, okay, we have something in common. Like, you have interest in what I like, but you don't own the title.
Well, the better way to remember it, tenancy in common is more common.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because joint tenancy you would only do if people are really close to each other.
Okay.
Like family or something like that.
Yeah.
Like if you and I got property together, right? Like we trust each other, we like each other, want to get a property together, but that doesn't mean I want you getting my portion, right? If I die, I want my heirs to get it.
Okay. Yeah,
and also, we may not have the same interest in it. We have different percentages in it. We may come in at a different time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Does
I
that make
remember
sense?
yeah. I remember the one video you did with the lady that popped up out of nowhere and then disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah. So joint tenancy, you have time, title, interest, and possession.
To tip.
Good. All right. Tenancy in common, what do you have?
You have possession, separate
Excellent.
title.
Good. You have yes, that's right. You have possession. Good. Which one of those can you take with a corporation?
Neither.
Mm,
Wait. A corporation? It can be, yeah, tenancy in common?
why?
Because we both possess the place? I don't know. Tell me.
You mentioned the right of survivorship, right?
Right, and the corporation doesn't have
A
a
life.
life.
Yeah, the corporations dissolve. They don't die.
Yeah,
Like a corporation, we could just turn and file paperwork and dissolve it at any moment.
yeah, and then it's over with.
Or you
But
could not. I mean, corporations outlive people.
yeah, and it lasts forever.
My point is, it's a different relationship.
Okay, that's
So you
what
can't
that
have
was.
right of survivorship with something that's not alive.
Okay, makes sense.
So you would take with a corporation tenancy in common. So in
Oh,
short, you would take with Joe Juder, you could take joint tenancy or tenancy in common. With prep agent, you can only take it as tenancy in common.
yeah, because it's the business.
Exactly. Like preparation's the corporation, Joe's the person.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's a big one you want to know.
Let's see what else I have here. Can we go over the I know what the title is. I know what the deed is. Fee simple, absolute. No, I want to go over easements and the different ones, like by prescription, by necessary, and all that. Like,
So what's an easement?
the right to cross somebody's land or use somebody's land for a reason.
Good. So is it an encumbrance?
Well, encumbrance. I play sports. It's not. No, that's encroachment.
Right. So an encroachment is when you're crossing somebody's line to go into their property. And I assume you're using the football reference, right?
Right.
So encroachment is just you're crossing that line. But let me ask you about that for a second, since you brought it up. What is encroachment?
Encroachment is, like you said, when you.
Okay, so that's your question. If I build my property and it crosses the line on your property, is that encroachment?
Yes.
If there's a tree on my property, it's on my property, but the tree grows and the branches go over that line. So nothing's touching your property, there's just branches that go over that line. Is that encroachment?
Yeah.
Yes. Good. So it doesn't have to be physically buildings on the land. It could be things hovering over as well.
Okay.
All right. Good. Now going back to the other thing you were talking about is the easements.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the different types of easements that you know of?
Easement by necessary, easement prescription. Those
What's
only
an
two.
easement by prescription?
Isn't that like a court document saying I can use this land because I've been doing it for so long already?
Good. Time. Just remember time on that one.
Time. Okay.
Yes. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing you got to remember is an easement in gross.
Easement and gross. See, I even got that down. I don't know. Wait, easement and gross. When is that when it's like a dominant and no, I don't know.
So easement and gross is just one property. You're not trying to get to another one. The big example everybody uses is the utility companies.
Oh yeah, I just did a practice question that said that somebody had a stock in a water company that was some.
Yeah, so that's the easement and gross.
So the most simplest way to remember that is what?
Is gross. Just remember it. There's no fun. You just gotta remember it. There's no dominant tenement.
Yeah, that no dominant.
I mean, some people say gross is 12, and there's 12 utility companies, but to me that just gets more confusing.
Oh heck no! Don't give me no numbers. Okay, cool. Utility though. So encumbrance.
That's just anything that limits you.
Anything that limits you or the title.
The title. Well, you are the title. I mean, not literally you.
Okay. Speaking of titles, I want to go over that legal title and equity title.
Good. Okay, so what's title, first of all?
Ownership.
Excellent. Title is ownership. Excuse me. All right, so you have legal title and equitable title, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Legal title, you have the title in your possession.
Okay, so legal title, here you want to write this down.
Yeah, I'm writing.
Is the right to sell.
Hey, man, I'm just listening to this. Right to sell. Wow. Legally, you have the right to sell. Legally,
yes.
Right to sell.
You're right. When you get a loan, when you get a trust deed or a mortgage, you lose that legal title.
Okay.
What you retain is equitable title.
Equitable title.
Okay.
Because, until you finish paying it off, and then you get the legal title back. Because technically the bank owns.
Right. But what you have is equitable title, which is the right to use and possess and gain equity.
So you really just borrowing the property. You don't even own it yet.
I guess it's one way to look at it. I mean, that's why you have equitable title. Like, you do own it in that regard. You gain equity. The bank just holds the right to sell it if you don't pay them. That's why they have that legal title.
That makes sense. Right to use and gain equity. Okay. Bank. How was that? Deed, transfer, evidence of transfer. Okay, I kind of know the OREE, but I need to go over this lessee, lessor.
Okay, so what's the ORE rule? What do you know about the OREE rule?
I know the EE, receiver, OR is the giver.
Okay, good. So the lessor, lessee, who's giving the lease?
Who's giving the lease? The lessor.
Good, which would be the landlord, right?
The landlord. Okay.
Yeah, the lessee receives a lease, which makes them the tenant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you have your vendor and vendee. Who are they?
The vendor is the person that gave the leaseor the money. Is that the bank?
The vendor is the seller.
The vendor is the seller. Oh my god.
Yeah, and the vendee is buying.
And duh, vendor. Wow.
Yeah. And the vendee is buying. Okay?
Vendee buys.
Okay, so who's receiving the deed? The grantor or the grantee?
The grantee.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah. Okay. Can we go over the different type of deeds?
Sure. So the big one you got to know is a quitclaim deed.
Oh, that's the easiest one. That's
Okay.
quick.
What's that about?
Quick release, termination, something like that. You'd usually do it with family.
Yeah, it's just immediate transfer of title.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you gotta trust the person because, like, you know.
Why?
It could have liens attached to it.
Good. So what I want you to remember is this term: expressed or implied warranties.
Express or implied warranties.
Yeah, and that's what you're talking about, like liens and other problems with it.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of a warranty deed?
Yeah, it's to guarantee a clear title, a clean title.
Yeah, so that one, you have the special warranty deed and general warranty deed. The special warranty deed insures it for the life of the previous owner. The general warranty deed insures it for the entire history of the property.
General. Oh, wow. I didn't. Can you say that one more time for me?
Sure. A special warranty deed is just for the history of the previous owner.
History of previous owner.
Yeah, and a general one is for the history of the life of the entire property.
Back to the broad thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Entire. Okay. Okay. Do you have any like words that people must know to pass?
Well, you gotta know all of them. But as you're studying, just like write me if you have any that are throwing you off. Like we could stay in touch and get this done.
Yeah, because Friday is like right here. I mean, I take my practice test, like I said, online. I do good on the vocabulary section, but the master test, I keep getting 62, 63, 65.
If you know your vocabulary and if you keep banging out on the practice test, you'll get there. Because if you know your vocabulary, then you not doing all the practice tests just means you got to practice them more. Just keep doing them more. Because you know the information.
And I have a tendency to do what 90% of us do, not go with your first instinct. Right. And those be all the ones that I get wrong. I'll be like, no, I knew it was that answer. And
you said you played sports, right?
Yeah.
What sport?
Play football. Football.
What position?
Middle linebacker.
What happens if you second guess yourself?
Oh, that's a touchdown.
Exactly. So this is just sports 101.
Yeah.
I mean, you recognize the play, you see the direction it's going, and you go. You go with your first impulse. The moment you second guess yourself, not only for a time, it's a touchdown, right? Because I know in football you only have a few seconds, whereas your test you have more time than that. But still, it's the premise of you second guessing yourself, and your first impulse is usually the correct one. With most athletes, the ones that are considered great athletes or clutch players are the ones that don't second guess themselves.
Exactly.
It's not always a time with like 3 seconds left. It's also building a strategy, going with it. Like as you formulate your strategy, as you're going up to the line in a football game, you have time. You have plenty of time to think of many different options. But whenever you go up to that line, like you see the quarterback doing their thing, like you have a strategy. Like I'm going to hit that gap. Tyler? And you're saying, okay, I'm going to hit that gap. But if they're taking a long time to get up to the line and they're using the full clock, and you start saying, well, maybe I should have done this. Well, maybe I should have done that.
Right.
Like that time almost hurts you. Why? Because you start second-guessing yourself.
Right.
Whereas if you just went right with your first impulse, and that was it, you're good to go.
Yeah, that's really like the only part that I'm missing that's making me not feel as fully confident as I know I can be. I mean, my parents named me winner. Like, come on, how am I going to lose in this situation?
Right, and you got to think to the football thing where you just can't second-guess yourself. Football is such a perfect thing because it's not a matter of time. As I said, many times you have like a decent amount of time for them to come up to the line and make the play and start the play. Right. I mean, what's that whole thing with the icing the kicker? It's make him second-guess himself. Second-guess. Exactly. So that's the whole thing. And the problem with taking a test as opposed to a football game, you have a lot of time to second-guess yourself.
Yeah, too much time, actually.
Right. Which is why it's so important you record your first impulses when you're not sure. When you're not sure, you always record your first impulse. And if you're still not sure, you go with that first impulse that you wrote down.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing, because I've never had test taking 101, California schools. So I was always winging it. But after reading literally all the information you have on your site, I was like, oh, wow, that sounds like a perfect idea. Like, the ones that I know, answer those. If I second guess, put them in this column. If I think it might be this one, come back. Because 3 hours, like, for 150 questions, I think you have time to check your answers,
right.
At least once.
And if you don't, like, if you're just somebody who has a tough time with this type of thing and you don't have enough time, well, then those in that last column where you had no idea, then so what? You just fill those in. You didn't know what they were anyway.
Right. Whatever grade I want to get on the test, that's the letter I'm going to circle.
Right. Exactly. So
I have these few more words that I wanted to go over.
Okay.
Avulsion, accretion, you know the other one that I'm going to say.
Right. So this is just straight up vocabulary that you got to memorize.
Yeah, because I know one is tearing away of land, one is.
Okay,
I think accretion is adding to land.
Accretion is adding to land.
Avulsion is like tearing away by body of water, or just tearing away of land. It might be
violently, like a dam breaking.
Okay, so that's why I keep getting stuck on like the whole tearing away by body of water, because I keep thinking about the example that was used. Like, how some people take you little too literally and be saying moo, like, like come on now.
Yeah. That's what chattel yell.
Yeah. But okay, so tearing away and then the other one with the R, what was that?
Which one?
I don't know how to say it.
Accretion?
No, is it like relinquish?
Reliction?
Reliction.
What do you think that is? That's the gradual recession of water, leaving land uncovered.
Can I get an example? Like, is that a house on a lake or something?
Yeah, and the water keeps receding, so your land increases.
Oh, okay. I think I'm good. I think I got enough information to.
Yeah, we went over a lot. There's a lot there. So take that in, think about what we did, and then write me if you need anything.
Okay, cool. And then I'll let you know as soon as I pass, and then we'll work on my teaching credentials.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
Okay, thank you again, Joe.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.